really inspired me to do the PowerPoint for this book. Because Tammy did, we would once a week get online together. It wasn't a Zoom, was it?
It was a Zoom because I was doing it in Puerto Rico.
And so we read the book together. And I thought, you know what, that would make a great PowerPoint. Because I don't know if you're like me, but I read a book and then I'm like, a lot of it's gone. And I have a lot of brain fog anyway. So, but this book, This Nation Shall Endure, was written, we talked about it last time, written in 1977 by Ezra Taft Benson, who was the Secretary of Agriculture at the time. And I'll be honest with you, I think this book is so prophetic because right now we are living these times that he talked about. Last time, the 1 through 6 was America's debt on Great Britain, God's hands in our nation's history, the signers of the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, a glorious standard, our priceless pioneer legacy, and can we preserve what they wrought. So this next section is going to be really, I really want a lot of questions. I want a lot of, yeah, I can see this happening in our day. Because as I went back through, I actually probably 6 months ago put this PowerPoint together. Easily 6 months ago. And so I have to go back and kind of go over it and over it in my mind because I can't remember everything. And so as I was going through, I thought, oh my gosh, look what has happened even since I did this. So it's crazy. So this is the second section. There's 3 sections of the book. That's why I have it in 3 PowerPoints. And so this one is our present challenge. Now, this is 1977 present challenge. So some of this stuff you'll go, okay, well, I get it, you know. It seems a little outdated, but it really isn't because we're living it. So, our problems today are essentially problems of the spirit. And I watched the people in Minnesota storm that church. And I went, that is such a problem of the spirit, watching that happen. The solution,
I just said, did you see though at the beginning of it? Well, somewhere I saw it, that black woman, and she's just ranting and raging over, you know, we're going to go in there because of this and this and this. And she says, I am a pastor, and they're not doing what Jesus does or whatever, something like that. But she's saying, I'm a pastor. I'm thinking,
how could you be?
I know. Is this what Christ does? She's probably
No.
Yeah.
And have you noticed though, when they say that, say, well, Christ overturned the tables in the temple.
That's what I thought in my mind.
And it's just like, that happened one time, and it had nothing to do with religion. It had to do with commerce, defiling what you're doing right there, defiling the house of God. Yeah, Tammy.
And the Bolsheviks, that's how you say that?
Bolsheviks.
Yeah, Revolution, they said that's what they did to stop church, is they would go into churches.
And I'm afraid we're going to see more and more of it. We saw what happened in Michigan with the guy going in and starting the church on fire and shooting people. He did shoot people, right? Yeah.
He ran it with his truck or something.
Yeah, he ran his truck in there, started a fire, started shooting people. So I'm afraid that, you know, we know it. We're in the last days. And we're going to see things just get worse and worse and worse. So we've got to be spiritually prepared. And our problems do essentially are problems of the spirit. The solution is personal and national reformation. In short, it is to bring our national character ahead of our technological and material advances. So repentance is the sovereign remedy to our problems. And that is so beautiful. Tammy.
Just if you want, if anybody can get to DC, it's May 17th that they're doing a national for freedom. If you want to know what's going on for events for 250th anniversary, it's freedom250.org. And that event is going to, you know, all the presidents, cabinet members that are, you know, Judeo-Christian, we're going to call for repentance again and national prayer and you know, start off. So that's on May 17th.
Oh, that'll be
So I don't know
nice.
if we're going to do it in each individual state
or
as
not.
well. Usually they do, they mirror it, so hopefully.
I think, yeah, Helena.
I just want to go back to the
Freedom250.org.
repentance is the sovereign remedy to our problems. If you look at predominantly what the liberals have done, they have tried to change our culture to where you're not doing anything wrong.
Right.
So when everything is acceptable, you have nothing to repent of. So it's a really clever way of minimizing repentance. I can't remember which one of the antichrists, that was his argument in the Book of Mormon.
It's
Korihor. But that was his whole
Flatters.
argument, and we can't see that Korihor's argument has pervaded our culture today.
Yeah.
So we just don't need repentance because we're not doing anything wrong. It's really quite brilliant in a very evil way.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
because
I
when you
agree.
take accountability away, you
Yeah.
take away agency.
Yeah.
What does Satan want
Absolutely.
to do?
Yes, yes.
And bringing evil to children at very young ages, where we were protected until we were adults, some of
Yeah.
us, and that can't happen anymore.
I know. And we have watched over the last 4 or 5 decades of how they have used the education system to indoctrinate the children. And so we're seeing these young people in colleges that are so indoctrinated now that they don't see what they're, just like Helena said, they don't see that there's anything wrong. So,
It plays on their spiritual issues that's causing their own divorce within because of their resentments toward usually a parent or some abuse or something that happened to them,
yeah,
that they don't know how to forgive themselves even.
yeah.
They rage.
Hi, Jenny.
They rage against the current administration.
Yeah. So, number 7, so we did 1 through 6 in the first PowerPoint. Problems affecting our domestic tranquility. We are rearing a generation that does not seem to understand the fundamentals of our American way of life. That's exactly what you said, Helena. A generation that is no longer dedicated to its preservation, and we can only appreciate freedom if we understand the comparative fruits thereof. Okay, one of the problems that always confronts a physician while examining a patient who complains of a malady is to distinguish between the disease and its symptoms. So to treat only symptoms without effecting a cure will cause the disease to run its fatal course. In our country, we know there are disorders and malfunctions of various kinds in our body politic and our economic and social order because of the general symptoms like rampant inflation and increased crime, sexual permissiveness, broken homes, excessive debt, discontent among labor and women and minorities, and disillusionment among the youth. With all the palliatives being advanced as cure-alls, it seems significant to ask, are the remedies conquering the actual disease? And I think this is what our problem is right now is, I think TDS, does everybody understand what TDS is?
Trump derangement syndrome.
Trump derangement syndrome.
It's a real disease,
It is affecting the mind.
a disease of rage.
It is, it's rage, and it's not that, what do we believe? It's just that we hate the man, and so therefore we have to throw everything out because we hate the man. And it's a disease. It's a disease.
It also doesn't help that our schools no longer teach truth. I mean, the
Yes.
lesson you're teaching today, our schools do not get.
No.
We don't understand what a lot of our earlier leaders were actually trying to do for the country. And Trump is more like our earlier leaders than
Yeah.
any leader we've seen in our lifetime. And we're just not understanding what he's doing because we're an uneducated people.
Right, exactly. Lenore. I saw her name here, sorry.
So,
Sure.
I told you before, but I was an aide in a junior high school when Chromebooks came in. And what happened was that the first 10 minutes of the day in their classes where they used Chromebooks were given to the teachers. What?
They couldn't hear what you said, Chromebooks.
Were given to the teachers to do all their administrative stuff, and the kids were given assignments from the federal government to do. And I remember one was about getting rid of the penny, one was about clothing at school, what you should be able to wear. One was about the republic and that we should have a democratic government, and it actually asks the question, what are you going to do to, when you become, basically, what are you going to do when you get old enough to overturn the government?
Well, it's crazy.
They're activists, they're teaching kids
They're
to be social activists.
Plus they infiltrate the privacy laws by asking the kids things, and they also monetize the information from the kids and market and make money off of it.
Exactly.
So just before anybody got here, I was listening to Fox, and they were talking about how was it Virginia? I don't think it was Virginia. They were saying they're putting cursive back in their school. And because they have discovered that cursive writing helps them have higher IQs. We're going, yeah, we've known that for years. I mean, Cleon Skousen said at BYU that when you write cursively, you remember 8 times more than if you print. And then they're saying, they're discovering that these kids shouldn't be behind screens, just like the Chromebook, they give kids the screens, that they're not learning properly because they're so engrossed in the screens. So,
I mean, my whole job was just to go around and stop kids from playing games, because they can make this little square on their Chromebook and play games on them while the teacher's talking.
And they're not learning. And that we also saw with COVID, they said, well, these kids can, Zoom at school, at home. They weren't Zooming at home and learning. And so we lost, 1 to 2 years of their education. And it's taking its toll on the kids.
I say it's going to be more than that, because I had my 2 kids, and were in elementary, junior high, and getting them back to going into school has, the numbers of times of them not even wanting to be in school was, and was high, because these kids, the anxiety and depression just skyrocketed from it.
Oh, I believe it.
I talked to their doctors, and they just said that they were just, and I actually had to, put them to therapy for it, to deal with all of that. And they're just this year
Snapping out of it.
Coming out of it. And
Wow.
that was,
this is almost 6 years later.
yeah.
So, yeah, Nancy.
Yeah, I just was kind of thinking, what is it about cursive that makes it use the brain more, or does something, physically, spiritually? And I think it's the connectiveness to each character and how the brain works.
It's a flow.
And it creates connectivity with people, because each letter's different, but then you connect them together, and there's style, and there's all these
I
different
think it
things.
has something to do with the development of the syntax of the brain.
Helena.
We have a friend who's an administrator for BYU, and they were saying that the caliber of students who were entering BYU in the 80s was a completely different level than the ones that are entering now. And they said it's not state specific, it is across the United States. The education level has gone down so much in the last 30 to 40 years.
And if you don't want to, there are people who think, oh, conspiracy theory. They made it happen. I don't think there's any conspiracy behind it. I honestly and truly, if you control the mind, you control the people. Yeah, we've got Shar, Brad, and then Penny. Shar.
Well, I know you have to read certain words to be able to even use your phone, but there's a lot of kids that have never really read an adult book. Not, just a bunch
No, I know.
Chapters kind
Something
of.
like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brad.
To me, it reminds me so much of the prosperity cycle in the Book of Mormon. People go through horrendous difficulties, problems, they finally repent, God blesses them with prosperity, and most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, they just can't bear it. They cannot bear peace and prosperity. They have to stir it up and finally lean towards wickedness, and because,
We're all drama kings and queens.
Yeah, we just, the natural man, we lean into it and go through this stupid cycle, and if only we could learn, as a few people did, once you have the prosperity, stay there. And, you know, they just can't bear it. And part of what, forgive me, one other thought is, they didn't have to earn it. Most of the generation, they didn't have to earn it. They don't know what it is to live without the freedoms, and they didn't have to earn this right. And it's like the kids of wealthy people who, the kids didn't have to earn it, so they squander it. You know?
Agreed.
That's what, okay.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Did you have something else, Penny? Okay.
Oh, I would say that when my eldest son was, when he was a baby, I started looking into homeschooling, and there was a woman that was, LDS school, homeschool, whatever, and I went to their like homeschool convention. I don't know if you guys know who Jack Monet is. He was there,
From Spring City.
Yeah.
he was there. He used to own a company called, Archives, whatever. He had a book, and I wanted to buy it, but I did. It was like this thick of the plans that the government had educationally. So yes, it was deliberate.
There's no doubt. Absolutely,
it was like literally this
I think
thick.
it's called the dumbing down of America. They had planned it.
Yeah, Kathy.
I was listening while I was getting ready today, follow him, and they have, it was with Hilton on there, John Hilton III, and he was talking about how, the churches now, it says, use other Bibles, which is good. He says, part of the reason is because the King James Version is written on a higher level, and our youth they're not reading any of it because
they don't understand it.
Then, what is it, the New English Version is like on third grade level, so he says, get them into it, take them down on the level, on the lower levels. Well, I'm there too, because I don't understand a lot of things in King James. But what were they teaching the kids to read from when the country was formed?
Yeah, they were taught from the Bible.
Yeah.
Agreed, absolutely. Okay, so they're merely palliatives to relieve the inconvenience and distress of the symptoms while the disease, cancer-like, takes on to our destruction. Before we go into our ailments and disorders, it is well to review the elements of our health and strength that we have acquired under our divinely inspired Constitution, the liberties it guarantees, and the free institutions that it sets up. The facts speak for themselves. No nation on earth eats as well as our nation. No country is so well clothed. And no people are so well housed. And no individuals on this earth have so many of the conveniences as we do in terms of heating, lighting, plumbing, and other comforts. These are not luxuries enjoyed by the rich alone. These are the comforts of us. And the common people, us, the common people, comforts of which mighty monarchs of bygone ages never dreamed of. Can you imagine people in Helena's country, the kings and the queens, and they saw what we have? They would think we are so rich beyond belief, and we just average everyday people here in the country. There's so much wealth and so much that we have, and yet we don't appreciate it. It's like what Brad said, we've been given so much, and then we don't appreciate what we have.
Well, Shakespeare and all the other dramatists sure would have had a heyday having an Apple phone, being able to spy on other people and tell all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just the technologies.
It's become a throwaway world.
Yeah, it really has. No nation has such an industrial complex made available to it because of applied science and the harnessing, in part, of electricity. Our transportation system hardly knows any bounds on this sphere. Look at our president, hops a plane last night and he's on another part of the world to speak to the people today. It's just, it's amazing. And you think of the ancient times where they had to get in a boat to go to another part of the world for months. And we go in hours on the other side of the world. It's just amazing. We travel in planes and trains and cars and buses without limitation in our country, and in relative luxury, a luxury scarcely affordable or even accessible to the masses of humanity in other countries. No other country has such an elaborate and universally accessible education system, when the humblest among us can climb the ladder of success to the highest rung. Nancy.
Can I point out an irony is that so many of these affluent families, I know somebody that did rescues with some very famous Hollywood people of their children that were alcoholics. Our own Sundance here has Cirque Lodge, well, I don't want to give them a plug, but they charge $30,000 to $50,000 and up a month just to help them overcome their addictions. And there's a lot of Native American, other things that get them back to nature, the Anasazi program and other things that, it's just ironic that the people we abused were giving us the higher technology of nature's God and connecting with the spirit of nature and going to God because you are out there in nature or, you know, with extreme situations, and you have to pray for your crops. You have to pray for your own sustainability and to have that technology, and that people are willing to pay that to get their children back from this entanglement and let them become, like, learn who their identity is, you know?
I know. We are really off the rails, aren't we?
Colette, you know what's interesting with what you've just said?
Yeah.
When Ezra Taft Benson wrote this, everything he was talking about was beneficial to us. Our education system, our medical system, our food system. But the pendulum has swung so far today that every one of those systems is now hurting us.
Oh, yeah.
Not helping us, but most of us can't see it.
Well, I saw something this morning that says BlackRock can control whether it rains or not, and so if they want to have a drought in areas, they can control that.
So what's going on here?
Yeah.
That would be a very interesting question to ask, because what we're experiencing is completely not normal right now.
It's not.
And quite worrying.
But do we remember prophecy? That in the last days that we will see the shift of these seasons? Did someone not see that? Yeah. And was it God influencing it, or is it BlackRock? Are they? I think they're a tool of the devil. What's that?
Prophecy doesn't tell you.
I know it doesn't, Lawrence.
We also can influence or manipulate the weather. If we all gather together and pray, we can change it.
If we repent.
We did that in times of old.
We have done that as a church,
Yep.
and we saw it get fixed.
Yep.
And with the lack of moisture we've had this year, the skis resorts are in trouble. And so we need to pray for rain and snow. We need snow in the mountains. We could have snow a little bit here. I don't mind it, but give us 200 feet in the mountains. Give us some rain.
That's what I always say, just do it in the mountains.
Snow out there. I know, I'm just being selfish. But we do, I mean, Helena last week was talking about how we're seeing trees buds. You know, I mean, we're not supposed to have buds on trees in January.
Daffodils come
So.
up.
The roses where I work are starting to bud.
Yeah.
And we had a wasp, our friend saw a butterfly. I mean,
Kind of a change of the season, maybe. I don't
mosquitoes
know.
outside my kitchen window.
Yeah,
Trying to
Penny.
So I was gonna say that I think, you know, one of the problems that happens with this cycle and not being able to like handle the prosperity, I think it's because a lot of time, and able to handle the prosperity, we have to stay and remember who we are.
Yeah,
And that,
exactly.
and that's why I think what gets lost is because we get into the world system
Yeah.
and forget who we really are.
Well, and I think I watch what's going on in New York with Mom Donnie and how he comes from money, but yet he knows better, you know, and he wants to rise people up. But what he's going about with is communism. Everybody needs to be on an equal thing. And when we were talking about the wealth of people and the cycle, you know, some people don't have wealth because they're not willing to work for it, and then they become jealous and then you have inequality. So it is a vicious cycle, but you gotta be willing to work. And then people say, well, yes, but I work and I don't get rich. And, so it is a vicious cycle. And, we have to realize that we have so much wealth, it's beyond belief. And I think we're just feeling like we need more and more and more. Tammy?
Just with Mandani, 8,000 businesses have left New York, and the New York Stock Exchange is moving to Dallas now.
I know it.
So,
Yes.
it's gonna change.
So are they gonna help the New York?
Maryland.
Well, I just
Yeah, they'll
listened
change
to
the
a
name.
cute thing. He's a comedian, but he is a comedian at churches, and he was talking about his grandmother that asked him to come fix her washer. And he went down and saw her washer dry, and they're so old, I'm just gonna go buy her a new set. So he went to the store, called her and said, what color is the washer that you have? And she said, it's brown. Anyway, she said, he told her he was gonna get her a new set, and she said, no, there's nothing wrong with it, it just needs to be fixed. And she said, that's the point, I'm gonna get you a new one because those are broken. They're not broken, they just need to be fixed. Anyway, her point was, we've become a society, and it tied into like marriage vows of old, to have and to hold. She says we've become a society that just has to have and to have and to have the new thing and the new, iPhone and the new this and the new that, and there's one new feature in a car, and so we have to have that. And she said, what happened to just holding it?
Yeah. We've become a disposable society.
That's,
Yeah.
That's the word.
That's what it made me think of when you said that.
What is it? What's
Yeah,
the
we
word
don't
you used?
hold anything.
Disposable
Just
society.
just get
Do you
rid of it.
remember, how many of you ever watched the movie Passengers? I love that show. And the guy that, I'm trying to think of it, Chris Pratt is the main star. And all these people are put to sleep in stasis, and they're flying to a new planet.
Oh, yeah.
And for some reason, the spaceship gets hit with some asteroids, and it wakes his pod up. And then it takes 125 or 150 years to get to the new planet. And he wakes up and he goes, oh crap, and there's no way to get back to sleep. And the reason why he was going is because he said, where I live on the earth, everything is disposable. And I fix things, and they need me on the new planet. That's the reason why he was going, is because he wanted to be needed, because everybody, your toaster goes out, you throw it and get a new toaster away. Yeah, Helena.
Don't you love that our prophet is so in tune? Do you remember what he said at conference?
Remind us.
He said, we're a bunch of consumers.
Yes.
And where are you a producer?
Yes.
So accurate. for what we're
Absolutely.
talking about.
Yeah. And that's what America kind of has turned into, is rather than having building and building and building, we've just become consumers. And so all these countries send us imports, and we consume their product, and we haven't been the builders. And we really created the 5,000-year leap when we had freedom, because we became the builders. But then we just abdicated it to others. And that's the thing I love about Trump, is he's saying, no, we need to bring it back and be builders again. And I love that, because there's a sense of pride of ownership. And I know pride is a bad word, but if you do something and you do it good, you need to look at it and go, I did good.
I believe Father said that.
Yes, he did. Yes.
No matter what we're doing, we're creating.
We are
Even if it's
creators.
Fixing something.
Absolutely.
Finishing a project.
Yep. Okay, few nations enjoy such freedoms. Freedom to speak, and freedom to own property and business, or participate in ownership, and freedom to worship, freedom to print, freedom to travel at home and abroad, and freedom to censor even public officials, and freedom to have the privacy we deserve. No country has ever been more concerned with the due process in its judicial system than ours, and the protection of human rights as granted by our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. And it's not just theory. History will record that we bend over backwards to protect the rights of the individuals, and sometimes to a fault. And that's where I I think of this to a fault. And I see that that's where a lot of our problems are in America. Because look at what we have allowed in Minneapolis and Minnesota with allowing a learning center to be created. Anyone who's been following, not the learning center, but we've allowed a group of people to become basically asylum from a country and come here and create an area and keep it third world.
And our politicians knew.
And
didn't do anything about it
absolutely
because
knew.
they were getting reelected by these people.
Yes. And we have allowed this to happen in our country. The beauty of the United States of America was to come here and become a people, a melting pot, to learn our language and to assimilate and be one. And we are not one. We're the Somalis, and we're this, and we're that, and we're the Hindus, and we're the, and Little Italy, and, we are not, we are segregating ourselves. And by doing that, we are destroying our country. And we see what's happened in England, especially London, where they have brought in all these refugees that are Muslim, and they've basically turned London into a Muslim country, haven't they, Helena?
Well, I think we need to delineate that they've allowed the Muslim Brotherhood in.
Yes.
That's what I was gonna say.
Extremist
Yes.
Muslim.
Yeah.
It's become like, there's 3 centers of the Muslim Brotherhood, and that's
Yes.
one of them,
There's the true
London.
and then the extremists.
Like headquarters.
Yes. Well, I heard this morning that the UAE, United Arab Emirates, is cutting off funding to schools in England because they've allowed the Muslim Brotherhood to come in.
The extremists.
Yes, the extremists to come in and be teaching their people, because a lot of their people came to England. And the UAE has been giving them money so that they could survive and they could be educated, but not indoctrinated.
Yes.
And that's the problem, Penny.
Just out of curiosity, does anybody know who was behind the start of the Muslim Brotherhood?
Oh, I've heard it, but
So I don't remember his exact
I don't-
name, but he's a former Nazi. So
doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me in the least.
When we were in Egypt, Tammy,
Yeah.
do you remember what we were told? The Egyptians said to us, how long did it take for you guys to figure out that Obama was Muslim Brotherhood?
Yeah.
And we were like, I think it took us probably, 1 term. And the Egyptians said, we knew when he was running, and we asked ourselves, what are you doing in America?
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
I am not surprised. I'm not
What
surprised.
percentage of Americans believe that though?
Well, none.
Still, none.
I mean, probably less than 1%. Maybe 3 people who are enlightened. I had not heard that he was Muslim Brotherhood, but I'm not surprised. I knew he was extremist. I thought he was leaning more in communistic ideas. But really, Muslim Brotherhood is kind of communistic ideas, so.
I think it's the secret combinations arm of the
Perfect.
Muslim people.
Yes, agreed.
But he came across so sweet and loving. I remember when I first noticed, it was like years ago on Oprah, he was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody loved Oprah, and he came on and he was.
And you kind of went, wow, this
Yeah, he
guy's
was
awesome.
charismatic.
It's
Yeah.
like Slick Willie.
Yeah.
Schmoozing.
A wolf in
and
sheep's
Pehrson
clothing.
was
Yeah.
energy.
I knew the wording that he
The
was using
Antichrist.
was communistic.
Yes, yeah. And I agree with you. It is an antichrist kind of a motif of, and how easily you can be deceived.
Do you remember the guy that came in and he talked, or I don't know, it was a girl that talking about the guy that used to go out and be paid, he wore a white mask and he was paid to
Oh.
make people famous, you know? And, in the dark arts. kind
Yeah,
of
I know what you're
world.
talking about, yeah.
But that really, because when we talk about, we were like, just overcome.
That came out of England. He had the little slits. They had the day, Helena, the guy with the white mask that had the little beard thing and the,
Yeah.
what, do you remember what that's called? And it came out of England.
But I just wonder if we were kind of under a spell kind of thing, because.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
Because I would listen to him and everything he said was so yes, that's right. And then like I think about it 5 minutes later, it's like, wait a second, what did he just say?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and.
But there were stolen elections. It's been stolen for
Oh, yeah.
years and years and years in Utah.
Oh, yeah. Well,
So
yeah.
I think it's the world. I mean, ever since Hugo Chavez, 26 years ago, he created the Dominion and Smartmatic program.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and he sold it to all the countries.
It's horrible. So no other country has been so generous as America in terms of its money and food. No other nation has fought starvation and economic collapse and come to the rescue of nations struck by natural disaster as America has. And that's so true. And I was listening to Scott Bessent. He interviewed yesterday at Davos with CNBC. Did anybody? Yeah, you watched it. And how America has really come in, and we've really fought for Europe. And yet, what did they do? They turned around and tariffed us. And we had an army for them. We set up bases all around the world to protect them. And they're not appreciative. And it's like what Brad said.
Somalis. They just have their hand out,
Yes.
wanting America to take care of them. And when we withdraw that hand, they whine and pout.
Oh, yeah.
That's really what's going on with Europe.
It is exactly what's going on, Nancy.
A friend of ours, somebody you know, Mike Simpson, wrote a book.
Oh, yeah.
About the angry bird. And once you start feeding the angry bird, and because it's squawking and you want to help it, and it's like it looks helpless and you're trying to help it, but then you leave it and it just keeps squawking if it doesn't get what its immediate needs right then. But then it wants to stay in the nest and not fly and not become a bird, basically. It's kind of the same theme that C.S. Lewis goes over with Peter Pan. You know, we want to stay in the nursery forever and being taken care of. And so it seems like a lot of the world has a lot of childhood issues of abandonment and neglect, and like when you get right down to it, and they're the angry birds that are squawking, you know?
Danny.
So if you want to know what's going on with Britain, follow the Promethean Action on YouTube. And they're very, very good at explaining what's going on with the angry birds.
She's really...
What?
Action, Promethean Action.
That's the two,
The two old women.
Older women,
Yeah.
yeah. They're really good.
Promethean or Promethean?
Will you send it to me?
Promethean Action.
Okay, send it to me. I don't think I've...
Oh, they're every day you
Seen
need to.
Oh, yeah,
on there
they're
like
really, really
twice a
good.
week, but they're very researched and they understand that it's all.
Is that Prometheum updates?
That's a part of them. That is
part of them?
Yeah.
I think that might be where I heard about the Muslim Brotherhood was from
Yeah,
them.
they explain things they've done deep research, and it's especially with Great Britain.
Well, I love people who are
Let me make sure.
accurate, that speak truth and inform us. It's good. That's a good thing.
Even Sidney Powell, in her Defending the Republic emails I get from her still, and she uses Promethean.
So she's been really silent for a long time,
Because
but I don't blame her.
she's helping beside, so
After
I see
everything-
updates and action. I think it's action.
After everything that went down with the stolen election, and they slammed her, she kind of went back, and you don't hear much about her.
She is working behind the scenes as a lawyer, helping out.
Oh, good.
So it is both Promethean updates and Promethean action. So they're doing, so both of those you're gonna find shorter ones or longer ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, send it to me so I can watch. I have so many things that I'm watching right now.
Is
It's
it on
just
YouTube?
amazing. There are so many there are many blessings, but these are a few we might enumerate. Whence came these blessings? To those who would malign our country or system, we ask, by what source did we receive such prosperity? The power has come to us from God. To a great extent, we have been a God-fearing, Christian-worshiping people. This is a land choice above all other lands to the Lord, and that we shall remain here on this land as we remain in God's divine favor. And this is the problem that we have right now that we're seeing, that we are losing more and more people to secularism, and they're losing, whether they're a Jew or they're a Christian or a Muslim, what doesn't matter what religion, but if you do not have a God-fearing, God-loving heart, then you can't love your fellow man, because you can't love yourself.
So
And
the
you-
nice thing about Charlie Kirk's organization is the youth it's spreading.
Yeah.
So that
It's
tragedy
beautiful.
has turned into every high school, and many places are all turning back to God and
Yeah.
learning. And so
Yeah.
it's helping correct the stuff in the schools.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. There are principles which, if applied and acted upon, are conducive to the social, spiritual, and economic well-being of the nation. They are basic to sound international as well as domestic accord, and they came from God Himself to Moses and form the foundation for civilized society. They are embodied what has been denominated as the Ten Commandments. These were designed by an omniscient intelligence. Had to practice that. So hard to say. To plumb the depths of human motives and urges, and to govern the baser parts of man's nature. It is well to be reminded that no nation has ever perished that kept the commandments of God.
They're protected.
They are. We're protected. And, pardon?
Because it's a covenant.
It is a covenant. And so why do you think the left worked so hard to get anywhere the Ten Commandments were put in city halls, in city businesses, in city parks, removed? Because they want the covenant gone. Yes, Penny.
I was going to mention that also, that these things, as I start sharing about like spiritual warfare, one of the things that one of the ministers I listen to, he talks about the importance of altars, and those places would be considered godly altars. And so by not only removing them of that, because there is a spiritual protection on altars, on godly altars, and so by removing them and removing those, that removes that spiritual protection and allows for evil altars, even though we can't visually see them, to actually come there and allow for dominion of that space where they were to be taken over by the worldly kingdom.
Yep.
So,
Helena.
And I think what Penny is really describing is what Isaiah explains, is that you're either under a covenant of life with God, or you're under a covenant of death.
Yeah.
there's
There are only
no...
two choices.
Excellent. The commandments known as a Decalogue stipulate first the sovereignty of God, proving for our allegiance to Him. This is followed by the declaration of treason against Him with its attendant punishment, even to the proclamation of the great law of heredity operative upon transgressors. Then follows the law of blasphemy, declaring that those who blaspheme will not be held guiltless. These constitute the first three commandments and circumscribe man's relationship to God. The balance of the Decalogue deals with man's relationship with his fellow man. Exactly what we were talking about is if you can't love yourself, you cannot love your fellow man. So there is the promulgation of law governing family relationships, parent and child, and the law that specifies periods of work and rest and the relationship of capital and labor. That was kind of hard. That's kind of, but really, those are kind of like the pillars of what we learn with these covenants and the Ten Commandments. I was even thinking, I need to get some Ten Commandments and put them somewhere in my house, because they are a covenant. Okay, the principles that govern civic relationships and declare social order, the thou shalt nots. The relationship of these commandments to the domestic problems in our society may well be in order. Let us take the first. The worship of and service of God has been basic to our social, economic, and political life during the medieval and modern eras. They have been the anchor to which we were moored, the foundation of our Judaic Christian culture. But today that worship, that belief is waning. We are so puffed up with material achievements that we doubt that we cannot see, smell, taste, feel, or hear, or what we cannot bring under our will. We have a creator. Marilyn.
What's shocking to me is that, the book was written in the 70s, and to us, we're like, well, yeah, kind of like with the Proclamation on the Family, when it came out, we're like, duh. But now people are like trying to fight it. It's crazy to me how they see around the corner and they try and prepare us, but we're like, nah, it's not gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen, that can't be right.
And we find ourselves in the middle of it and we're like, well, now how do we get out of this? Well, we might not. We won't.
I think that first paragraph, we can't through repentance. That's the only way, in my opinion.
As a society, it's not gonna survive.
No, that's why we're in the last days.
Where prophecy comes, but yeah, up to us individually what we do.
Yes.
Depends on where we end up in all of this.
Serena.
Well, on a good note.
Yay!
We did see a special about 3 religions that are really the most prominently growing religions. It was Catholic, Evangelic, and Mormon. What they call it Mormon,
Yes.
And it was so interesting, and they said that there is a return to religion, and we see that with Charlie Kirk, and we see with this younger generation, there is a return. And so it's like splitting, it's like more evil, more good, and they're starting to divide even more predominantly. But one thing was very interesting, and this was non-church, and it said, a lot of growth is in Africa for all 3 of those groups, but we get the award for the best retention, because they'll say there'll be like a flash in the pan for the Catholics, like, I'm gonna go back, and then they kind of dwindle. Evangelicals, I accept Christ, and then they kind of dwindle.
Well, I'm born again, and so now I don't have to go back to church.
But they said that we have been more successful, and I know the church has really worked on that retention and keeping them, and it's working.
Yeah.
So I was really happy to hear that.
Jolene, or Isabel.
Back another slide or two, we're talking about loving yourself and loving others. The reason that the reason that we can love other people is that we have a reservoir of loving ourselves. And if we don't have that reservoir, we need to figure out how to get it through probably mostly prayer. Some people come to the earth, or they come to a certain kind of family that is built in. Others of us have to kind of
work on it, huh?
Yeah, because otherwise we don't have the ability to love other people as well if it's not there.
Yeah, perfect. Anyone else? These Mosaic laws contain the basic principles upon which all civilized governments and our present civilization has been built. As man is now constituted, neither permanent government nor civilization can be built in violation of these principles. A little reflection will persuade any right-thinking person of this. It must be remembered that the founding fathers of this great nation were men imbued by these principles. There are those in the land whose faith it is that these were wise men whom God raised up for the purpose of establishing the Constitution of the United States. When I found this picture, I'm like, oh, that is so beautiful with Christ in the background. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but yeah, so awesome. And the Constitution is God-inspired. There's just no doubt about it. 34% of the Constitution is the Mosaic Law. And a lot of people don't understand that. Church and state. Well, our Constitution is church. So, yeah. So the founding fathers recognized that there are 2 possible sources to the origin of our freedoms, and we have come to know known as human rights. Rights are either God-given as part of a divine plan, or they are granted as part of the political plan. Reason, necessity, and religious conviction and belief in the sovereignty of God led these men to accept the divine origin of rights. To God's glory and to the credit of these men, our nation was uniquely born. If we accept the premise that human rights are granted by government, then we will be willing to accept, to accept the corollary that they are denied by government. If we as Americans believe our rights and freedoms are instituted among men, then we no longer carry the proud inheritance of our forefathers. And this is the problem I think we are seeing today, that the indoctrination that the government gives us our rights. The government does not give us our rights. It is God-given. And the government is not our daddy. It's not our parents. And we need to understand that. And so many people do not understand it. This is why a Mom Donnie can indoctrinate people to think, I am your parent, I will take care of you. No, no. Just be there to help guide and to make sure things are done in a legal manner, but you are not the parent. And it's been worse with the federal government because they have acted like the parent. Did you want to say something, Penny?
No, that's my question. I was thinking about rights. I mean, it also seems like there's a lot of claiming of people saying certain things are their rights that aren't their rights.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know. Yeah.
Or, just this entitlement.
I have the right to own a car. No, you don't. That's a privilege. It's not a right. It's not a right to have a driver's license. It's a privilege.
That's some of what's going on in Minnesota too.
Yes.
We have a right to be here and we have a right to all these government assistance. No, you don't. You're not a
No, you
citizen.
don't.
You didn't come legally.
Yeah.
You don't.
I don't think they pay taxes.
I saw this little reel. I don't know if you ever watch reels, and it was Rob Schneider, and he was talking. He says, "Who would want to go to a Learning Center?" He said, he was doing like a comedy skit, and he said, "We all know that the Somalis were pirates. So why would we want to go have these pirates come here and take over and try to teach our children and take care of our children, and children they don't even have? And seems like they're once a pirate, always a pirate." I'm like, oh, that is really quite funny.
Piracy is life-threatening, but they can just come here under the radar.
Yes!
And they can just do it anyway.
Absolutely, and they just continue their way of life in their country. I thought, oh, that's so Joyce.
They just think differently than we do.
I know.
Well, our DEI and ideology shift taught them how to manipulate the
They did.
system and
Oh, yeah.
how to lie. I mean, that was just second nature to many of them.
Yes, absolutely. So we need to keep before us the truth that people who do not master themselves and their appetites will soon be mastered by government. We need to keep before us the truth that people do not master themselves and their appetites will soon be mastered by government. We will grovel before their masters seeking favors and dispensations, a throwback to the feudal system of the Dark Ages. We are rearing a generation that does not seem to understand the fundamentals of our American way of life, a generation that is no longer dedicated to its preservation, and our people, both before and after they arrive at the age of the rights of the ballot, should understand that it has made America great. We can appreciate freedom if we understand the comparative fruits thereof. So, Jefferson said, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. It is one thing to win freedom, but its preservation is equally important. And this is the thing is, I think we just take for granted our freedoms, and we've got it, so we don't need to preserve it. And that's not true. We have to be so vigilant of keeping it sacred and holy. If reference is made continually to weaknesses of the private enterprise system without any effort to point out its virtues and the comparative fruits of this and other systems, the tendency in this country will be to demand that the government take over more and more of the economic and social responsibilities and make more of the decisions for the people. This is where we're at. This result is slavery to the state. This seems to be the trend of the world today. And this issue is whether the individual exists for the state or the state for the individual. And I think people are really confused by really who is in charge.
What does that cartoon say?
It says the relationship between individual and state.
Oh.
Hint, the state normally wins.
In the actual.
Save the troops, save New Orleans, save security, save my job, save my pension, save my illegal nanny, save my SUV. He says, I ran out of room. And she says, well, what about Darfur? So, I think that's cute.
What about what?
Huh? Darfur. Isn't that in Africa? Save this, save that. That's what all the liberals want. Save this, save that.
But they want your money to
Oh,
save.
but that's the nanny state, right?
All the NGOs.
It's other people's money, OPM, other people's money.
So it's a total usurpation of God's plan, because it's give God the glory, and Christ is the example for that. They want the glory, and they steal from others to get the glory, and it's
the Robin Hood, take from the rich and give to the poor. No, that's not what it is. How are we doing on time? Okay. In a republic, the real danger is that we may slowly slide into a condition of slavery of the individual to the state, rather than entering the condition by a sudden revolution. And this is the thing we're seeing right now in Minneapolis, is they think this is a revolution. No, it's not a revolution. It's not. The loss of our liberties might easily come about, not through the ballot box, but through the death of incentive to work, to earn, and to save. And this is part of the problem too with, we've got nefarious people paying people to be anarchists. Not to go out and get a job and to work and to have incentive. Their incentives to get a paycheck to be an agitator. And that's a problem. That's a huge problem. Serena.
Are any people in Minneapolis standing up to that?
Yes, they're starting to. With this last thing that happened in the church, that people are starting to get upset about it.
And they're embarrassed for their state. They say, this is not the Minnesota I grew up in, and,
What the problem,
In the church. Maybe I missed it.
Sunday, the agitators stormed inside a church. And screamed and yelled. And
white people in suits and stuff, and you have no business the pastor there, or the preacher of that, he worked for ICE too.
Did he?
That's what they targeted.
That's what they thought. I didn't know if he did or not, so I don't know.
And the Gadiantians for years foment revolution. There were people in Hollywood and others that fomented the Bolsheviks in the early 1900s. They fomented the revolution to prop up puppets in Central America. I've done research on that. And Ukraine, that's the whole reason Ukraine was the money laundering capital for that secret society.
They were, absolutely.
Still are.
You're not going to see that the Minnesota people. You're not going to see that the Minnesota people they don't want this, because if you watch mainstream news, because that's whatever channel I go to, if I watch the national news, I say, this is bizarre. They're only showing the radicals on there. That's all they show. And so it stirs up all the nation thinking, oh, then I should join that because they're telling the truth. But that's just
can't trust the news anymore.
And the person paying this, behind this, is some billionaire that's in China from the
So I heard the Tides Foundation, which is George Soros, also is paying stuff too. So, but it does not surprise me that they're doing this out of China.
Yeah, there's a billionaire. He's actually, I think, from the U.S. I don't remember, but I don't remember his name. I've seen him come.
But when you're paid, that's your incentive, is to be paid to be an agitator. We've got a problem. We've got a big problem. Such a condition is usually brought about by a series of little steps at which time justified by a variety of reasons, and which may on the surface appear to be laudable as to intent. Are we rearing a generation of Americans who do not understand the basis of our economic prosperity and the principles upon which prosperity is predicated? And I would say, yeah.
Well, in COVID, they took all the people that were making minimum wage and started giving them like $5,000 a month, which made everyone believe that there was plenty of money. It was just the people on top that were keeping it from them, you know?
Are you talking about the illegal aliens?
No,
or
COVID. When everybody was sent home, the people that were making minimum wage, they were all given money individually, and then their subsidies, and then their, you know, the child money that comes, and just all these different things. But it was when they really got a taste of what it was like to have free money and to be upper middle class, because suddenly they had the same amount of money as the upper middle class.
Well, I guess we didn't get that, so I didn't know that was really
Well,
done.
remember, then they go out and buy Coach purses? I deserve this purse, because I could never afford it before.
And so, you know,
why do you
people
deserve it now?
that were before struggling, then suddenly had more money than the middle class.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and for over a decade, some of us know a person that ran a company that was on the forefront of social media with all the marketing years ago. And he went to the first presidency, said, do you want me to tell you the truth? Or do you want to know the truth, you know, versus what you want me to tell you? And he basically said, the adversary's got 4 years on you ahead. And he said, what we found in our research was that there are like 20 main NGOs and groups that are paying people to go online and be the bots, and now you can do it with AI, to create contention, to create negativity, to take down anything. That's what happened to some political groups. They took the most organized ones and they targeted them, and then they called Ezra Taft Benson that party affiliation or, you know, group, and they go in and purposely behind the scenes and go for, you know, county and local, and they just infiltrate everything.
I'm not surprised. America was built on a certain pattern of industry. It was one that was discovered by the Plymouth colony after trying to experiment to the brink of famine. We've talked about this before. Governor Bradford, with the approval of the chiefmen of the colony, set aside the social experiment whereby the most able and fit extended their strength and industry to support other men's wives and children, a kind of slavery that they deemed repugnant. He assigned to every family a parcel of land according to the proportion of their number for that end. This, he said, had a very good success, for it made all hands industrious. And Bradford, they did what they called Christian communism. And I've taught you this before, that everything, it was going to be true communism, but nobody had incentive. Nobody wanted to work. Nobody wanted to plow. But when you gave them their piece of ground and the land, they became industrious.
You're invested in it.
Yeah, you're invested.
To go back to the concept clarification of what is the United Order and community.
Yes.
And versus communism, the ism is like perfectionism.
Yes.
But perfection is the process of becoming better people,
right.
And, you know.
And a lot of people get confused because they think the United Order is like communism. I remember Karen was trying to teach that to us, and we're going, no, you're kind of confused. Because, communism is force. And the United Order is free choice. Yeah, Brad.
If I may add, you mentioned he made the change where he gave them all their own land, and you implied this by that he also gave them their own responsibility.
Yes.
You are now responsible for yourself, not anybody else.
Right.
Now, if you have some surplus you want to share, and that's kind of where the United Order is
Yes.
more like that, where it says if you have surplus you want to share, fine. But you are first responsible for yourself, and you're not in slavery to somebody else in their family.
Perfect.
And don't you see that with your children? Raising your children to go out, and I want you to weed the garden, that's your chore today, you gotta go out and weed it. I don't wanna do that, and they're just lazy, you know? And when they get their own place, they want it immaculate, so they go out and they take care of it, because they own it, they're adults now.
Yes.
They have responsibility, they own it.
When they buy their first car.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, wow, this is so cool, I love it, I wanna take care of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why you have the prosperity. That's what our country was set upon, is having the freedoms, the 5,000-year leap. That's why we leaped forward from the stick plow to become industrious, because we had freedom and we could work and we had ownership. You know, life, liberty, and property was the basis of our country. They took the word property away and did the pursuit of happiness, because at the time England was still kind of there, and property was slaves. And they did not want it to be slavery, so they did the pursuit of happiness. So, but it was life, liberty, and property. And when you have your own property and you have ownership, you'll be industrious and take care of it. Yes,
I
Nancy?
heard something, this is kind of a subtle thing, but the world of expectation is Satan's plan. And that's why the communalism versus, communism doesn't work. Because they expect, and, it's a subtle difference from force. Force is outright force,
Yes.
but the expectation. In Russia, 80% of all produce came from private gardens during the Cold War. That just tells you something. And they barter with each other and, didn't want the government knowing what they had to do.
Oh, I'm not
on their own
surprised.
But they
I
just
think
took
that's
all
a
the
little
farms.
later in here, so, yeah. The principles behind this American philosophy can be reduced to a rather simple formula. Number one, economic security for all is impossible without abundance. Two, abundance is impossible without industrious and efficient production. Three, such production is impossible without energetic, willing, and eager labor. Four, this is not possible without incentive. And five, of all forms of incentive, the freedom to attain a reward for one's labor is the most sustaining for most people, sometimes called the profit motive. It is simply the right to plan and to earn and to enjoy the fruits of our labor. That's what our country is based on. This is capitalism.
That's what God's plan is based on.
Absolutely. Brad?
Real quickly, and implicit in there again is the security to protect private property.
Yeah.
And if I earn money, to protect that money. In other words, the laws that circle that whole thing and make it possible, make it secure.
Very good. Excellent. Okay, so, whoops, I went the wrong way. The profit motive. Okay, 6, the profit motive diminishes as their government controls, regulations, and taxes increase to deny the fruits of success to those who produce. 7, therefore, any attempt through government intervention to redistribute the material rewards of labor can only result in the eventual destruction of the productive base of society, without which real abundance and security for more than the ruling elite are quite impossible. There's that security you're talking about, Brad. Mm-hmm. The ruling class. Okay. Poverty is abolished by economic growth, not by economic distribution, and economic growth requires work.
And equal things does not create equality.
That's right.
Yes. And I love the word abundance. You have a God of abundance, so when you have God's principles, you'll have abundance.
Yeah. What?
Just go back.
Go back a slide?
Yeah, I just wanted to.
The ruling class? I know.
Thank you.
As we become welfare conscious, conscious, remember the idler shall not eat the bread of the worker. This is, as I'm doing this and going through and reading, I'm going, okay, the Somalis and they're getting welfare. All the people who don't want to work, they just get welfare. Some people need a hand, and I'm not saying that they don't. There are people who have become indolent or health problems, but to just steal from the people, sorry, that is idle hands, and
They
that's.
brag about it.
Oh, yeah.
That's why we have bishops as judges in Israel.
Yeah. What was that, Marilyn?
That's what the government's doing to us, but then taking what's still ours and giving it to those who don't want to work.
Yes.
So we're getting robbed on all sides.
I agree. I think the federal government, some of this, I don't know that they knew, but the state government did. Nancy, back here.
I listened to this Come Follow Me app, and on Monday, they had this gentleman from this place, and he was preparing his testimony, but what he shared was for 10 years, he was in prison for breaking the laws, and he changed his life, and he found Christ, and I just thought, what an argument. They are breaking the law.
Yeah.
He broke the law and went to jail.
Yeah.
And he's in that very state. How do all those prisoners feel when all these people are breaking the law but no consequences?
I agree. So they showed yesterday a gentleman standing outside his house in Minneapolis with an AR-15, just standing out there, going, no ICE is going to come here to buy my house. Do you remember a few years ago that couple, was it in Tennessee?
Yeah, no,
that
it's
came,
St. Louis.
St. Louis, Missouri, thank you. And they had their guns because there was Black Lives Matter outside. I think, did they fine them or throw them in jail?
They put them in jail.
They put them in jail.
They weren't breaking the law.
They weren't breaking the law. They were standing their ground at their own home because they were being invaded by corrupt people that were breaking the law. ICE is not breaking the law. ICE is doing their job. And that guy stands there and nobody does anything to him. And you just kind of go, what's going on?
They have been fighting back and winning though.
Who's that?
That couple. They did, they proceeded with the law. I came across
The lawsuit?
a
Good.
lawsuit. Then
Good. Because that's not right. It's not right at all.
I've said this before, but there's Watcher Palmer, Scott Palmer. He was a mission president here in Salt Lake, and he said, you know, he would sit in councils, and I probably shared this before. He would sit in councils where a lot of the church members and leadership were saying, this is so great, the gathering of Israel and all these immigrants, and we have had a lot of policies that I know personally as a business owner, you know, with giving them, you know, IDs and driver's licenses. Utah's been pretty, you know, on the cutting edge of wanting to help people and bring them here, but it's gone way too far over the last 15 years. But he said, here's the thing. You can say that all you want, but I have my boots on the ground with a lot of these immigrants and people that come here, and they cannot progress because they are looking over their shoulders, holding down 2 or 3 jobs, and they cannot be leadership in any of our wards, even if they join the church. They need to obey the law so they can learn God's law, and they need to be respectful because they cannot progress doing it this way. And that's the same thing as Christ's 3 temptations. Yes, he deserved bread. Yes, he deserved honor. Yes, all these things were his already. But if he had doubt about the law, and he being the lawgiver, no, not this way. That's what Neil Maxwell said in the talk. Yes, I should have bread. Yes, I should have honor and power and glory. But not this way.
Yeah.
Not Satan's way.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. We must remember that government assistance and control are essentially political provisions, and that experience has demonstrated utilization as a foundation for sound economic growth under a free enterprise system. The best way, the American way, is still maximum freedom for the individual guaranteed by a wise government. This establishes and enforces the rules of the game. Good government, which guarantees the maximum freedom, liberty, and development to the individual, must be based upon sound principles. Ideas and principles are either sound or unsound in spite of those who hold them, and will continue to produce benefits of human welfare. Economic blessings are obtained by being obedient to the laws upon which economic blessings are predicated. And again, this is exactly what these people have done in stealing $10 billion from the taxpayers. You know, I mean, this is not right. They are not obedient to the laws. And it's frustrating because when we do things right, there's a reward. And when we're obedient, and there's eternal principles. As we rightly concern ourselves over pressing domestic problems that affect the tranquility of our people, it is well to remember that just as physical laws are spiritual laws. And these are our higher laws. And I see Christ sitting there and I'm just like, oh, so beautiful. It is much less likely that someone will be concerned with his adverse impact on the environment and his neighbors if he does not love his neighbor. Therefore, one's self-regard and his esteem for his fellow man are intertwined. If there is disregard for oneself, there is bound to be some disregard for one's neighbor. We talked about this before. If you don't love yourself, you can't love your neighbor, and the only way to love yourself is to love God. And God will fill your heart, give you the things to do that are right, and then you can help your neighbor and you can love your neighbor.
I would say the part of that loving God there, one of my favorite scriptures that there is in Psalms where they talk about how God knit us and He knit us in our mother's womb. And I think part of that loving God is that revelation of who we really are. I think that's really key of beginning to understand and loving ourselves. We're not what the world says. We are who God says we are.
Well, we're a reflection of Him. I mean, we've got God in our DNA, and we are His children. And to love Him, we've got to love ourselves. And I think there's a lot of people who don't love themselves, or disrespect themselves, and don't take care of themselves. If we are not only really the children of our Heavenly Father who placed us here by design and for a purpose, and if there are not absolute spiritual as well as physical laws that we violate at our peril, then man has to be appealed onto different grounds. And that is a task that is next to impossible. For if we are merely transient in an unexplainable world, we will act more as tourists than residents. And I thought, boy, isn't that the truth? The Lord has said, yea, all things which come of the earth in the season thereof are made for the benefit and the use of man, both to please the eye and to gladden the heart. Yea, for food and raiment and taste and smell to strengthen the body, He hath given to us with judgment, not to excess, neither by extortion. The Lord has told us with regard to the essential resources of this planet that there is enough and to spare. And I think that's one thing that frustrates me more about these people that say, you know, there's not enough in the world, there's too many people on the earth, we don't have enough resources, and yet Ezra Taft Benson tells us there's more and to spare, and we know it, but we listen to people who are nefarious, that are under the rule of Satan, and try to trick us and indoctrinate us and take our money and tell us that there's not enough oil in the world, we have to have windmills, and you know, it's all an indoctrination to take from us. There is enough and to spare. What is lacking so often is not the engineering to produce, that grows out of the world technology, but the human engineering necessary to share that which we have. Brigham Young said, "Not one particle of all that compromises this vast creation of God is our own. Everything we have has been bestowed to us upon us for our action, to see what we would do with it." That's why we're here. What are we going to do with what we've been given? Whether we use it for eternal life and exaltation or for eternal death and degradation. So that's truly what we're here for, is to see, what are you going to do with what I've given you? Are we going to buoy ourselves up and do the things that are right, or are we going to degrade ourselves, the eternal damnation?
That's what's so devious and evil about Satan's plan, is because, during all these last few decades, I know in my life, like, we're working so hard trying to produce, raising families, and wearing so many different hats, and while we were sleeping, we try to be aware, but since it's a cult and it is demonically hidden with secret oaths and all that, people can see the fruits of that now.
Yeah.
With the power play going on, and it's a blessing that it can kind of force us in a way out of necessity to really look within and try to create Zion now. It's time,
Yeah.
It is time. We're living in
It's time we step up and have that eternal plan.
But it snuck up on us. Just like with the Nephites and how they handled it.
Yeah, what they did with their lives. Some may ask, why are we a people and a church quietly and consistently seek to change individuals while there's such large problems all about us, such as the so-called urban crisis? But decaying cities are simply a delayed reflection of decaying individuals. That is so true. But, let's see. Revenue shortages are real, but the shortfall in character is one of its causes. And so this is what we're seeing is when we get it in our heart that we have that decaying part of Satan, and it teaches us what's right, what's wrong, what do we do? And we have to have those eternal principles in our mind. The commandments of God give emphasis to improvement of the individual as the only real way to bring about real improvement in society. Until we focus on basic qualities, little progress will be made. Our democracy depends on self-discipline, which depends in turn on having fundamental values and reasons to check our appetites and passions. Otherwise, we plunder as a people. So this really talks about the first sentence of repentance. And we need to find our core values, and we need to see what the commandments are telling us to do, and to seek that out every day in our lives, or we are going to degrade. And we're going to turn into the Nephites, and we're going to be gone.
Can I say something?
You betcha.
All this stuff here. We took values out of school years ago. And we were just kind of talking here that we can't fix the system. I'm thinking about what she said, thinking, I am not politically minded. I don't get the cause and effects to a lot of political stuff. I don't. But when people show it to me, I can see that. And that's how I probably learn it. But I don't have that political mind. So I could be overrun easily if I don't understand that. And we become such a big nation. When it was smaller, they probably had more, like when the church was small, you knew the prophet, you knew all the apostles. You probably were in the throes of things that you knew what was kind of going on. But we can't fix this system. It is bigger than us. What do we fix? We fix ourselves.
Yes.
So if we went back to teaching values at home, values in the school, teach them the golden rule and things, which we're not doing. We're letting the government teach the kids about becoming democratic or whatever. So
Well, don't feel bad because I worked in the Senate and saw a lot of corruption back then, but I had no idea, even trying to be aware all these years and seeing it start in Washington State. I lived up there 10 years. I saw things starting with, the abortion and all the liberal policies that were taking place. And it's kind of like Europe's, 20 years ahead, but now they're like 1 or 2 years ahead. Like we're seeing it compound. And it just is humbling because I could not have seen all this corruption, even though I was aware of a lot of it 30 years ago.
So God knew, and He knew the pattern that was going to happen because He knows that where we don't, we're experiencing it, we're learning it after the fact. It's not that we try to be dumb. It's just
no, but Satan's awfully tricky.
Yeah.
And if I remember right, Dr. Kimber's Satan does the long game. This started clear back in the early 1900s, and it's now coming to fruition to get us to the point where he wants to take over before the last days. He can't beat God. He thinks he can, but he can't. And so if he can take down enough people, then at least he'll be happy enough. Were you going to say something, Penny?
I was going to say that this started back in the Garden of Eden. The way that Adam and Eve walked with God. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot of this stuff that came in. Some of it is plain deception because he came in as a serpent, crafty and wise, and he spoke the language of God. What they thought that he was confirming God, but what he was doing was changing. And getting them to doubt God or change the image of God. And so some of this stuff that's come in, we've been warned, but some of it is just because when the adversary comes in, if we see him, because in the occult, the dark side, left-hand pathway, there's two sides of it, but what we think of it is the dark side, the blacks. That's easy to see. Yeah. The side that we don't understand, where a lot of this, and that's where is that deception part.
The cunning, the trickery,
of Lucifer coming and appearing as
hiding in plain sight,
angel of light, and that's where that long game comes in.
Yes.
Is because he's speaking. A lot of the language people they're speaking Christianese. Mm-hmm. They're speaking the language of Christianity. And so when we hear what they're saying,
we think we're hearing
the truth.
Yes.
And it's not.
Yeah.
Like the charismatic Obama on Oprah.
Yeah.
He was a snake in the garden,
Well, and if any of you that do follow politics, the new mayor or governor was sworn in yesterday in Virginia, Abigail Spanberger, and she ran on all these things she was going to do. And the first day she went in, she said, "I'm signing an executive order that we will not work with ICE." And you're just going, that's not what you ran on.
Yeah,
and
that's not legal.
They just lied.
I don't think she gets to make that decision.
She doesn't. She doesn't get to make that decision because it's federal Trump state law. But it's the wolf in sheep's clothing. Were you going to say something?
Well, I'm just saying that she had the Quran that she...
Did she do the Quran as well?
Yeah.
I did not know that. I knew Mom Donnie did.
Yeah, well,
she did the Quran as well.
They put their hand on the Quran?
Instead of the Bible when she got sworn in. Mom Donnie did. Yeah.
I did not realize that.
Oh, yeah. So she did the Quran. Oh, I didn't know that. So...
Do you know that, the horses, the apocalypse, the different
four horses?
The 4 horses, the colors. I got this post, somebody was saying, like, their thoughts of why those colors is each of those colors of the apocalypse represent the colors that are in each one of the Arabic states. And each one of those, and I just found out from the Zionist prince poet there, that each one of those colors represent a certain a family in Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was interesting is that those connections between those colors.
Yeah. But it's been said that we cannot tame our technology until we can tame ourselves, and that we cannot tame our cities to make them good and habitable until we can tame ourselves. It is so, and always has been the case, that the outward things depend on the inward commitments. This nation now struggles for balance. This was in 1977. I just go, oh my goodness, we are so out of balance. It's just, we're like, we're so out of balance. This nation struggles for balance between the need for energy and food production on one hand, and our needs to extract these things wisely on the other hand. If the proponents in the political process are unduly selfish, then the balance will not be struck, and there will be strife and suffering and waste and shared respect and shared concerns. Create a wise balance, and political and economic balance is more probable. And that's what we need to do. We are so out of balance. It's just crazy. So, but again, we're kind of talking about, I don't know if we can get it back. Trump is trying hard to get us back into balance, and people see it as aggressive and wicked, and it is not. He is more like the founding fathers than any other president that I can remember, even more so than Ronald Reagan. So, and I loved Reagan. While the resources of this planet are both perishable and renewable, time cannot be recycled. We are reminded in God's early communications with mankind that when our time, for instance, is given over too much for the seeking of pleasure, then the serious and the eternal things are left undone. If we become pleasure seekers, we will plunder our environment much more rapidly than if we had a sense of history, not only about this planet, but also about the people who live thereon. There is failure of parents to teach their children to walk uprightly before the Lord, or to work. Our communities do not develop programs based on work to restore dignity to the individual. And that is so true right now. It is not based on restoring dignity. You cannot do the things that are going on in these cities and say that there's dignity to the individual. And the thing that surprises me is, like somebody asked here, is anybody even speaking up that are of rational and sound mind in Minnesota? I really haven't seen anybody on the newsreels. Is there anybody that's seen anyone stand up and say this is wrong?
I don't know if I've seen it from like politicians or stuff, but I did watch something just this morning of people speaking out, like people that live there, being really upset, like I said, about the church, what happened in the church, and being tired of what's happening.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't know if.
Yeah.
I saw a reel the other day, a lady was in her car and she was just explaining what happened at the grocery store, that an ICE agent came into the grocery store, took the person that they needed to, and as they were leaving, the people in the aisles started cheering. And I was like, cheering
that they took
the ICE agent? And she said, no, we are not as quiet as you think we are. We are cheering these people on for helping to keep our city safe.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
So it was just like, I think it was in a Whole Foods.
Oh, really?
It's a very expensive store anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, they went in and people in the aisles where this happened, and then other people from other aisles came to see what was going on, and the whole
And they cheered the ICE agent for taking them out.
But we don't hear that.
No, we don't hear it at all. So that's good to know, because in my opinion, if you don't agree with something and you don't say anything, then are you agreeing with what, I mean, being silent is speaking as well. So we need to stand up. I've not put ourselves in a position to get hurt. Jolene.
We've been told by our prophets that we're going to have to stand up in the last.
Yes.
We're going to have to take a stand for the good or the bad.
Yeah.
And if we don't, we're going to have those repercussions.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to stand up and let people see that just because we haven't been boisterous or whatever, and going overboard, that we do care. That just does make a difference.
Yeah.
And we'll have to stand up for what we believe. And if we don't, then we're just letting them roll right over us.
Yeah. Because silence is, in my opinion, is in agreement.
Yeah, and parents are so worried about giving their children more than they had when they were growing up, they forget the principles of earning it
Yeah.
and teaching them.
The values that come
The
from
whole
it.
values, and that's why things are just going awry.
I agree.
It's sad, and then they're letting the schools take over the teaching thing and not showing them. They don't teach civics anymore. They don't teach about the Constitution like they used to. When
The
we-
golden rule,
all
the
that
10
stuff.
Commandments.
Yeah, and so where does it need to fall to? The parents need to step in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we started gathering as sisters 17 years ago, is because unless we learn this, how do we incorporate this in our families if we don't know it? And this has been an education of all these years to come to know and to recognize.
I don't have much to say. I do sit here and listen a lot, but I am taking it in, and there really is a problem. And and the parents, it needs to start at home. That's why the families count so much.
Yeah.
This whole United States was built on family value.
Absolutely.
And God Christian people.
Without a doubt.
And we need to get back there.
We do.
Hey, I was going to say, just question that, it seems like a lot of the ones that are against ICE seem to be from the wealthier areas, places where these people are not being, they're being put into the ghettos, into the inner cities, like the criminals. So, where's the disconnect partly with these
Yeah, and when you're getting paid too.
Yes, they're getting paid, but for it. But it's to me, it's like empathy has been weaponized to a court of tolerance. Like we're just, and that if we set boundaries but these people are criminals. It's like we're caring more about they're
caring more about the
criminals than the people that are being killed by them.
And that's a problem, Serena.
So, let's see if this makes sense. I think people who are not religious, do not believe in God, have a void, because your spirit wants to give and love and be charitable. And so in their mind, they are being kind and charitable
Virtue
to the
signaling.
Yes, to the
Thank you.
Signaling.
Yeah.
Virtue signaling.
Virtue
but they're
signaling.
signaling their virtue when they really aren't taking care of what's going on inside of themselves.
Because if you were channeling or signaling love of mankind, love of God, you wouldn't do those things. You really wouldn't.
It's displaced.
So there's that missing hole of godliness that they're trying to fill up, and it's on the wrong side.
It's kind of like, okay, I'm supposed to love my fellow man and my enemy, so you let your boyfriend beat you and hurt you. Because we have to love them and we have to help them.
Forgive them.
Yeah. Forgive and but that's wrong. Charlotte.
I think as President Trump is given more time to really change countries for the better, then people will feel better about what's going on, because right now it's like, yes, we understand that there's all these people that came here illegally, but there's no place for 8 million people in Venezuela. But now that it's a free country, those people that came here illegally will in the time have a place to go back to. And I think that's kind of people's concern about Mexico, is that it's so controlled by the cartels. There's no hope for people, that they'll die on the street if we send them back, and that it's a horrible thing we're doing. But as the cartels are taken down, I think people will change in those ways.
But if you remember too, they opened up their insane asylums and their prisons and sent them here and they are called Tren de Aragua. We want those people out of here. They need to go back to prison.
Everybody agrees that those people should be taken off the streets. I don't think anybody disagrees with that.
But why are we a country that just needs to take in people? I don't know. It's such a fine line.
It's hard.
It's hard because you love your fellow man, but at the same time, why do we have to take on every problem? I don't know. It's so hard to be good, and I don't know.
Well, I'm just taking my kids' side of it, because they are very upset.
Well, we need to remind ourselves what we already know. Love does not mean submitting to evil.
Right. Yeah.
There's tough and tender love. As a parent,
there's still Captain Moroni is the answer to everything, and love does not mean submission to wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
And so,
You have to fight fire with fire, and you have to have a position of strength to even deal with wickedness and the evil side.
Well, and we have laws in our land. And when people enter our country unlawfully and not do it the right way, then they don't have a right to be here. So it's not that we don't love them. They need to go back and do it the right way.
Like, and even if they do come the right way, it still takes a minimum of 7 years for them to begin the assimilation process.
Yes, I agree.
And that's where the problem is because they are coming from countries where they are being told what to do, even though they want freedoms.
They don't understand what it is.
They don't understand what that is.
Yeah,
So when that's why we're having so much of this conflict, is because they don't know how to be self-governed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, real quick. This is one thing I love about Trump is he said, yeah, make America great again, but then he goes to other countries and said, but I also love this country, make them great. Make every country ought to have, and I
That's
think
the mission of the church.
To me, the message should be not so much that the U.S. is where the accepting of all refugees. The message is make your country great.
Yes.
You know, make Mexico great so people don't want to flee over.
Which requires them to be great in
Helena.
their communities.
Yeah.
Ilhan Omar, just yesterday or the day before, swore about our country.
Oh,
called us
she
the
profaned
US
the Lord's name in vain.
GD states, and Trump came out and said, I think Ilhan Omar should go back to Somalia because she could go back and make Somalia great again.
I did hear that. I love it. You know, if you don't love our country, go back where you came from. Jolene.
I just think our welfare system's so screwed up.
It is.
And our church welfare system works so well because we try to teach people how to go out and be productive, how to work.
They put forth effort.
Yeah, and our government has just totally enabled all these people. Oh, just give me, and it's generational.
It is.
It's a sad thing, and it's hard to fix because it's gone so long.
Julie.
It's taken a toll on our tithing too, and our church.
Yeah.
Trying to find a balance.
Julie.
I made a mistake and stuff. It's not the governor of Virginia, but her lieutenant governor who had.
Had the hand on the Quran.
So I'm sorry that I.
Charlotte. There's being done in the church welfare too. We were there just for one day and people were coming in and filling their whole carts with big meat, things. It would cost $30, $40 for us. Most of us can't even afford that, but they were filling their whole cart.
Where was this?
With meat. In Salt Lake, at the Bishop Storehouse.
Bishop Storehouse. People coming to get welfare.
Yeah, there's welfare. There was. They
for 2 weeks.
Nancy.
I'm just saying it, I can't imagine anybody eating that much meat in 2 weeks, so.
Nancy.
I watched that picture, and this guy was attacking him.
Yeah.
And what bothered me the most was the gentleman attacking him said, change the Constitution, change the Constitution, change. And I thought as immigrants, you know, you're supposed to sustain the Constitution.
You're supposed to come here and assimilate. If you can't assimilate, go.
If you don't like it, go back.
Yeah, go back to your own country. You left for a reason. All right, let's do one more slide or two. We talked about cleaning up our water resources, our landscapes, national parks, and our atmosphere. Suppose, I love this, suppose $120 billion were available to do this. Now in 1977, I don't know what $120 billion would equate to today, but I thought, okay, that's not as much money as it takes to run things now, but if they were available, then we think of the horrendous cost of crime and the cost of alcoholism, the cost of smoking, the cost of gambling, the cost of insurance and commodities to so many of us because of recklessness, irresponsibility, shoplifting, and dishonesty. The problem reduces down to an individual matter of keeping the commandments of God and the law of society. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is making significant contributions to solutions on our domestic problems, including the following. So what I will do is, it is 11:30, there's like 7 things. I will stop there. Do me a favor, Heidi. And, oops. Okay. I wanted to see what slide it was. Slide 27. Guess how many slides I had?
60.
91.
Just for what you wanted to get through
27. We got to, you know what? This was so good.
That's better than Rhonda's 5 or 6.
So we will stop here and pick up, put slide 27, because my brain fog will forget. So, but we will, I kind of feel like, I'm so glad I'm doing this because it shows us what's going on right now. All of this is coming to fruition right before our eyes. We know that there are times that are coming in front of us that are going to be hard. Do we want to stand up, or are we going to sit back and keep our mouths shut like a lot of Minnesota people? I just don't see enough being interviewed that said this is wrong, and we need to say this is wrong.
Colette?
Yes.
Mike Lindell has filed for governor of Minnesota, and they say he's 6 points ahead right now. So I think that says something about how people in Minnesota
Awesome.
feel.
That, I think that's beautiful. I had not heard that, so that is beautiful. I hope that they actually remove,
They're gonna file impeachment on Walls.
that's good.
Whether they go through.
Whether it goes through or not, who knows?
Yeah, but it's a
But
statement.
at the end, he will be out a year from now. So he's not rerunning. He's already said he's not rerunning.
Yeah, but let's make a statement and actually get him impeached.
Yeah, I would love to see that happen because
And in prison too.
there are too many people that have come out and said he knew exactly what was going on.
If they can prove that, they'll be in prison. So,
Well, and also, do you remember the employee that worked for him that went around and was executing people?
Really?
You don't remember that? Just about 4 or 5 months ago? Steve, remind me of the people. There was someone that was against him on the city council, and she was shot. Don't you remember they broke into their house and shot her and her husband? Do you remember this?
But he was behind it, huh?
The guy came out and said, oh yeah, I was instructed to do this. He killed, I think there were 3 people. He went to another house and they weren't home, and then by time they found out, they were following his path and they finally caught up with him. And he was like a right-hand man for Governor Walz.
They borrowed him from the Clintons.
No, that's true, without a doubt. So we need to see something done with corruption, and we never got anything done with the Clintons. Nothing happened to them.
According to Isaiah,
There's a
though,
special
all of this
place
is just
now
priming
Yeah.
the way for the Assyrian to come in and take over.
Yeah.
And that's what the Lord needs to happen.
Yeah.
So
So
that
it's gonna happen.
last division can happen.
Yeah.
So
What were you
we
gonna
need
say,
to buckle
Penny?
down.
I just said
Great.
there's a special
we're not
place
gonna
in
change
hell
it.
for him.
There is a special place in hell for them.
And they
So,
Especially her.
anyway, if
Yes.
it's the same person.
So, anyways, the end.